An important aspect in definition of bonds pricing or yields is the credit risk resulting from rating. You need rating for the bonds. Such rating is determined by rating agencies. There are many of them. Here I'm using Moody's and Standard & Poor's, the most famous one. So just shortly what the ratings represent. The best rating in any country, in any company is of course AAA, and the worst is you are going down to the C. So the strongest rating, ability to repay interest and principal, is very strong here, very low probability of default. Then if you go down, of course you have different ratings, different probabilities of default. This is interesting to consider. For example, if you are in the middle with the rating BB for S&P, it means that there is uncertainty about the ability to repay, but you are in the middle, you are not so risky. Then if you go down, of course there is a higher probability of default, that you will not be able to repay your debts in due time, and at the end we are coming to the rating C, which is somehow the junk rating. So this is for the bonds which offer little prospects for interest or principal on the debts ever to be repaid. So it exists, but the interest rate or coupon rate is quite high because it reflects the risk of the country or of the company. Default risk is the risk that a lender takes on in the chance that a borrower will be unable to make the required payments on their debt obligation. Let's take an example to demonstrate how it works in practice. So corporate bonds offer different yields to maturity for different maturities and different default risks. The spreads or risk premiums are in basis points to be added to the risk-free. So risk-free plus spread equal to the all-in rates. On this slide you can notice different spreads or premiums in basis points depending on bond rating one side and maturity. You can see on the rating from the AAA to the C, the worst one, in the middle BBB minus, what we call investment rating, and based on the maturity from 1 year to 30 years you have different basis points. 100 basis points, it means 1%. So here we can calculate in this case for example yield on the bonds. If you have 10 years, for example, bond with a rating BBB minus, investment rating, so you are in the middle, you are not so good and neither not so bad. And in such case, of course, that you consider what is the, here for the 10 years, your spread, it's 165 basis points or 165% plus 273 basis points on the treasury yield, treasury bills, risk-free, it's issued by state, 273 basis points for 10 years with your rating. So if you do a sum all together, your spread plus your risk-free rate, treasury bills in your country, you will have 438 basis points or 4.38%. Okay. To conclude with, if you have a rating of BBB minus here, the cost of your financing for a maturity of 10 years would be 4.38%. Every year you have to pay 4.38% if you keep the same rating. And this is the annual cost of the financing. Of course, the idea is to improve the rating and to pay lower cost, because you can see that the spread is then lower. And you can also conclude that the higher maturity, longer maturity, of course, that the spread is also higher.